in any healthy relationship, you guys have to create rhythms, routines
Mm-hmm.
that in turn create culture. You know,
Mhm.
when you come together, Brittany had her own culture and rhythms and routines before we got married. I did too.
Mhm.
So as we synthesize all that together, now it's time for us to kind of think about, okay, what is the Lions routine and flow and rhythm?
What's the culture
What's
of
the
our
culture of
home?
this
Yeah.
household? And
Mm-hmm.
so it was definitely a composite of things that we took individually and brought them together. But then, like, what do we want to be like main staples, especially if we eventually expand our family and expand our, brand or whatever? What does that look like? And so I think if you're a spouse helping someone go through something like whether it be mental health or it could be a physical ailment, keep the rhythms and routines going. I'm talking about the healthy ones,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
like the ones that deal with prioritizing self-care, the ones that deal with prioritizing your spiritual walk. You know, don't stop praying, don't stop reading your word, don't
Mm-hmm.
stop going to church, but then also adding in, go see a therapist, go see the doctor,
Mhm.
take the supplements, do whatever that's being recommended to help. The natural things though, like going outside. I mean, for me, I would just say those rhythms and then her ability to co-sign on me trying to get into those rhythms helped me get back to
Mm-hmm.
a better place mentally.
With me having to relearn, reprocess, rethink what sex was, that was like taking a part of my identity away.
Just because you may need to seek help or you may be in transition and things may not be right, it doesn't necessarily mean that your marriage is bad.
Marriage is a roller coaster ride that never ends.
From the twists of having children, to the turns of overly involved parents, or the highs of buying a new home, to the lows of unexpected lifestyle changes.
Marriage is dope, but let's be honest, fam. Marriage really be tiring.
Welcome to the Left Hand Gang podcast, hosted by Jazz and Spoon.
Yo, yo, what's good, everybody? It's the Left Hand Gang. How you doing, baby?
What up, gang?
What's happening? What's popping?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I ain't got nothing
You
today.
ain't got nothing. You
Yeah.
ain't put nothing on it today.
Yeah. I will tell you what's popping is I'm trying to figure out what to do with this hair.
Okay.
That's a real black girl struggle.
I mean, I like what you got going today.
I mean, the head, the head is helping
Yeah,
sis
yeah.
today.
We ain't worried about.
I don't
that.
know where we're going next.
So we gonna go.
But
We gonna go
we're gonna
and,
figure it out.
and we gonna get there.
We're gonna get there.
We'll get there.
How you doing?
I'm alright. It's hard in these streets. She just smacked me. Like, be quiet. They ain't supposed to know it's us. They ain't supposed to know we here.
What? Wait, why is it hard in the streets?
Huh?
Why is it hard?
I don't know. It's just hard.
Okay.
We can.
Okay.
But I'm really trying to think about what it is. 'Cause I'm juggling like 8 things. Yeah, that's true. But this time I feel like I'm juggling and riding a unicycle all at the same time. And what I'm juggling is actually chainsaws.
Okay, so you didn't go see Carlos.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, I don't know because, ethically we can't do
I'm
that
sure
because
he
we
got a
friends. So
You gotta call me.
we probably can't do that. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm really doing all right. It's been a very, very productive last few days. So been doing all right, cuz. I'm good, cuz. Yeah. Fine.
Hey y'all, we want to shout out our sponsors.
Yeah. I'm gonna stay over here though.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay over here.
Thank you to Light with Purpose.
Yeah, Light with
We
Purpose.
told y'all they dropped their fall collection. It's toasted.
Yeah, toasted.
And then they have pecan. Is it?
Yeah, Cozy Pecan, I think.
Cozy
I think
Pecan.
Cozy
Is
Pecan.
their new fall collection, and you can check them out at lightwithpurpose.com.
Yeah.
And you can snag 15% off with the code LIGHTGANG.
Light Gang, all one word. Don't worry about the caps or lower. Just type in Light Gang. You be all right. And then we got the Icy brand, clothing brand. I think Rance just dropped something else new. So y'all be sure to check that out. That is, what is the promo code? 10% off. Icy Gang. Yeah. Icy with 2 Y's. ICYY Gang. Same thing. All one word. 10% off. So please go and support our sponsors because they do really good stuff and they have really good products and
They
it's
really
good
do.
quality and everything. So please go do that for us. Okay, thanks. Bye. All right, baby. Who we got with us today?
Hey, we got some friends with us today.
We got some more friends with us.
Special people.
Some
with
friends,
us.
some family.
Some family.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We added family. How long we been doing this?
Who 19? Yeah, it was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, 19.
2019.
Yep, it was the summer we moved back right after we got married.
Yep.
Or spring, fall, whatever that was. Fall when we got back from being married.
And we have the Lions with
the Lions, like with an I.
L-Y.
Oh, L-Y.
Fancy.
Prestige.
L-Y-O.
L-Y-O-N-S.
Yes.
Nah, I'm really happy to have my man Karlos and his wife Brittany. How y'all doing?
What's up?
We good.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, see y'all whispering.
We whispering?
Yeah, y'all
Yeah,
whispering. Y'all whispering. Y'all whispering. All right, so I'm gonna have to cut the audio up on theirs, but it's okay. Just a little bit. It's a little bit. But we really are happy and excited to have y'all.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. Yeah, this is cool.
So who are y'all?
Yeah, who is y'all?
Before we talk about y'all as a married couple, who y'all? What
Who y'all
do?
is?
Where y'all from?
What set you claim?
I'm gonna let Brittany go first.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Brittany Lyons, as they just introduced, and I am an interior designer based here in Dallas, Texas. Karlos and I have been married like 10 years almost.
Wow.
So, but we've been living in Dallas for a while, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I'm pretty easygoing, like marriage, business, church. That's what I got.
So how'd you get into interior design?
So interior design, I've actually been asked this question a lot lately. So I've got lots of practice to rehearse this story, but very unintentional.
Okay.
I had got my first place, made it cute, nothing fancy.
So this is before.
This is pre-Karlos.
Okay.
Yes. We actually, I think, might have just started. This was in 2012. Karlos might be around in this, but I got my first place.
I was
think
lurking in the corner somewhere.
He was in the DMs. That's where he was.
Okay, you was
right.
in the DMs.
I hadn't crossed over into her,
He was
to her apartment yet, but yeah, it was
you ain't
somewhere
got the
lurking in the
phone number
DMs.
yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was working on our
so
angle.
when
yeah.
I first got that place, made it cute. I think Instagram had just kind of come out, or maybe like a year or two. It had been out, but still new. And I would post pictures on there. And by the time Karlos had come in the picture, we got married. I was still, making it cute and cozy and documenting those changes on Instagram. And I had a former classmate, high school classmate, reach out to me. She had just purchased this new construction home. She didn't know anything about design. And she was like, I don't know what to do. Will you come help me? I'll pay you. And I was like, yes, of course. Of course, I'll come help you. So that project was in 2015, my first paid project. And here we are, 2023, 8 years later. Now I'm doing this full time. I just celebrated my 3-year anniversary in September. So yeah, it just happened. I don't have a traditional interior design education, as in a bachelor's degree, but I've been doing this for a while. I've got the experience and the client. I keep having clients, referrals. Amen. They refer their friends. I have a lot of repeat clients. So definitely a gift from the Lord. I believe that. So
that's what's up.
And that phrase that your gift will make room for you.
Yeah.
Is happening. So
man.
Congrats.
That's cool. So I want to poke the bear just a little bit. Just a little bit. So do you be walking in people's houses like, man, they should have moved that here, that need to go there?
Okay, can I be honest? I literally was like, Brittany coming today. And
I
people,
like, I get that a lot, but
I was like, I wonder what she's gonna poke out and be like, well, I would put this here, or
and why is that spot over there empty?
Not to be condescending, but when you have a gift, that's what you see.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't always work like that, but I do get that reaction from people often when I go to home. If they know what I do, they're like, so what are you seeing?
Like, we need your approval.
What would you do? Or they're like, oh, excuse my whatever. And I'm like, I'm not here for that.
I'm off.
Yes.
People be trying to use your gift, right? They be trying to basically get free consultations. So, girl, come on over for dinner. What would you do over here?
I bet it be family too.
How do you navigate that?
So I'll answer the question. I mean, there's not the formal consultation process is obviously different from me just like casually being in someone's home, they ask a question. So prime example of this, yesterday I had a quarterly meeting with my accountant, and the bookkeeper was on there with us. And at the end, he was like, I do have 2 questions for you. And I thought they were going to be like accounting
Bookkeeping.
related.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, what's for a low cost flooring option? Where would you go? I was like, oh, okay. We're going there, which I don't mind answering the
Mhm.
question. It's just taking a couple of seconds or minutes. So
Yeah.
I don't mind. But my accountant was like, and Brittany gonna bill you for this consultation you just did on here.
That part.
So, but I will answer people's questions. I'll be accommodating.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say, oh, I don't, you have to pay me for that.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
wouldn't do that. But I would answer and just keep it brief and
Yeah.
move on.
All right, so what we can do is,
Uh-huh.
if we keep having her on the podcast episode, we can just be, hey, so what do you think about that couch? Do you think the chase should be on the right side or the left side?
Right.
Do you think it matches with the paint? Should it be matte? Does it have anything? You know what I
Not
mean?
matte.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the paint on the wall, matte colored paint.
Matt?
See, that's what the consultation for. The free one.
I could have told you that.
that we getting on the podcast. That's the
it's an
point.
absolutely no.
She said, you don't
But-
need a professional for that.
But Brittany in Carlos's house is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And her
Oh,
work is
thank
amazing.
you.
It
So
is. It is.
I saw it for her own house. So
Right.
not just the Instagram pictures of clients, y'all.
I seen
But
her
her
house.
own house.
Her
Okay,
house.
what she live in. She know what she doing, y'all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Man, so Carlos,
What's up?
man, so black man.
What's
my
up? What's
brother.
up? We in the house.
Ah,
Yeah.
what up, King?
What up,
Yeah,
sir?
that's what we do.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Y'all do?
Yeah, we
Just like
really-
y'all garden.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah, hey,
we're gonna
don't
get to that later.
don't hate on
Right.
our
Anyway,
garden.
anyway.
You hating on our garden?
Process in the making.
Hey,
Okay.
It will come to
It's
fruition.
gonna
Okay.
happen. It's gonna happen.
Carlos, tell the people who you are.
What's up, everybody? I'm Karlos Lyons. I am a licensed professional counselor in Dallas, Texas.
Let's go.
I
Bing,
am
bing, bing,
also, I would say, I am a worshiper. I'm a husband to my beautiful wife, Brittany Lyons. I love art. I love theology. I love the church. I love travel. Yeah, all things about me.
And being black.
And being black, absolutely,
Yes.
unapologetically.
The blackity black, blackity black.
black. Be
He
in the
really
house.
is.
Be in
Yeah.
the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I peeped that from Instagram. And I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that you read
Thank
that
you.
so hard.
Man, so how'd you get into the counseling world?
Wow. So I'm gonna go short story, but it's really a long story.
Oh, we got time.
I would just say that the profession really chose me. I didn't really go into any kind of higher ed thinking that I was going to go into the counseling profession.
Mhm.
So I went through what I consider an existential crisis of faith
Hmm.
in 2014, 2015-ish.
Mhm.
And that really led me down like this rabbit hole of all things, religion, trauma related thoughts, intrusive thoughts. Kind of had like a bout of insomnia and depression and anxiety that I would categorize was very manic in nature. At the
Mhm.
time, I had no language, no context, no paradigm for therapy. I did have a theological bent, and so all of my education at that point, or just my understanding about faith at that point, really informed why I was in that rabbit hole. But I
Mhm.
didn't really know how to get myself out because like the wheels were turning so fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that landed me in an inpatient facility,
Hmm.
yeah, for a couple of days, and left there. Honestly, by the grace of God, there was no kind of crazy diagnosis or anything like that. It was just for stabilization.
Yeah.
And from that experience, I really my body just had to go through its own healing process. No medication, even though I went to a neurologist to get my brain checked out, no therapy, no real follow-up.
Mm.
And I just kept walking, kept living right through that experience. But I had always had a desire to go to seminary. And so at the time I was going through this, I remember a pastor from one of the churches that we visited before recommended this book called Manhood Restored, How the Gospel Makes Men Whole by Dr. Eric Mason,
Mhm.
who is probably one of the most prolific
Yeah.
thinkers and urban apologists that I know.
Yeah.
And so his work really helped me during that period. And I just saw some commonalities between his story and the things that he shared in my own story, which made me look into Dallas Theological Seminary. Fast forward to 2016, I'm enrolled at Dallas Theological Seminary. I am in the counseling program because at that time I didn't feel like it was necessarily the call on my life to be a pastor.
Yeah.
It was really the call now to start talking about what's going on with my mental health, where is this leading me, and what kind of work I can do, both maybe in the church but outside the church. So that was really my aim, was to be able to get into a ministry call that helped me to kind of toggle both worlds. And so finished that degree, became licensed in 2020. I've been out here ever since.
Man.
Right in time after the pandemic.
Right during the pandemic, right during the whole George Floyd situation,
all of that.
police brutality. I mean, just the resurgence of Black Lives Matter. I mean, a lot of stuff was going on at that time. So it was just like a really pivotal moment, especially in Black America, because now we're waking up to mental health. We've been talking about it, but now it really made it very apparent for us during that season. So yeah.
Wow.
So
you said you were going through an existential crisis. What?
Crisis of faith.
Crisis of faith. What does that mean?
I'm glad you asked. 'Cause I want to dig into
Like,
it.
I know what it means, but not everybody was listening.
So the
does.
idea of existentialism
Mhm.
is just you're grappling for meaning and purpose and understanding of the big questions in life, right? So all of us kind of go through that phase where we have the big questions. Some of us maybe try to answer those questions for a period of time, or ask those questions for a period of time longer than others. Some of us are just very content with our own story and our own upbringing, our own narrative, and so we don't think the question as much.
Right.
Others may have a more critical mind. I tend to be an overthinker, be an overanalyzer, and so it just happened to be the right amount of stimulus from external, factors, people that I was talking to, engaging with at that time, that really made me kind of question like things about my story, my upbringing, my context. And so it was really centered around religious, faith-oriented themes. But it brought me back to, honestly, my faith was being tested. I feel like it was a test of my faith and my understanding of who I am in Christ. And it's an identity issue, identity crisis, if you want to call it that. So I was, asking all of those big questions of myself and just trying to see where I was at in light of my understanding of God and his purpose in my life and all these things. So,
Man, that's interesting. So this is, you said 2014, 15. So y'all are married.
We are married.
Y'all are married.
Newly married, about a year into.
So
a year into it.
How was that impacting you?
It was definitely an interesting time, but I will say that where he was having the crisis with his own faith, I was not. So it just kind of made me want to be, you know how in marriages where that one person is weak, the other person is stronger. And I'm saying that he had weak faith, but at the time he was dealing with all of these thoughts and, the circumstance, the things that were going on around him that made him begin that in the first place. And I really was just trying to be supportive, just supportive physically, supportive spiritually, like through prayer. I remember when we did end up going to the hospital that night, and I know you don't mind me sharing.
Absolutely,
Carlos
it's
is
my
an open
testimony.
book.
Yeah.
We went to the hospital, and the doctors in there talking to us. And Carlos had not slept for a while. I don't know how long it had been at this point, but
it had been a while.
It had been a while. So my boy was below fumes.
Yeah.
And when you don't sleep,
yeah. Suffering.
Your body does not go through the normal process of regulating and everything that it's supposed to do in order to function properly. So we are at the doctor's office, and he's asking Carlos these questions. And Carlos is like, and I said, if you don't get over there and sit down and stop acting like
now she turned into a mama.
I really did. Before they like strap you in. And yes, I really did.
Yeah.
You better get it together.
Yeah.
Basically, I was like, I need
She's
you
like,
to get it together.
I want to slap you.
I did. Like,
come out of there.
You know how on TV they be like, wake up.
Come out, devil.
Yes.
Yo, she performing an exorcism on the
Listen, so I mean, he did get admitted for a couple of days just so he could get some rest and be stabilized. So I remember actually worked at the hospital with him worked at the hospital that it was the main big hospital where we lived at the time. And I worked at the hospital. So I would leave work and go there. He was just there for like a day or two. I can't remember. It wasn't a long time. But I remember calling my parents. My mom left work. My parents drove, and they were like, "By the time you get off, we'll be there."
Mhm.
And
Okay,
so,
and tell us where parents were.
So
okay,
Mississippi is where we were
so
at.
we were in Mississippi, in
Mhm.
Jackson, Mississippi at the time. My parents lived in Hattiesburg, which is about 90 miles
Okay.
from Jackson, so about an hour and a half a time. And when we went to the hospital, it was like middle of the night type of
Mm-hmm.
situation. So we were there for that 1 or 2 days, and I remember we were in there singing, like just worshiping during that.
You and Carlos? Or
Carlos and I in the room that
Oh,
he was
was?
in.
I can't
Yeah,
remember.
I don't know if I don't know. You might not have been, but I was
Mm.
I cannot remember.
you were
And-
worshiping. Hmm.
in the space, and he came home like the next day or the day after that, and it was like it's something that he still has bouts with to this day.
Yeah.
But we were able to get back home and kind of get in our routine, and it still took him some time to
Yeah, it
for
took
his
some
body
time
to
for my
regulate.
body
And
to
again,
regulate,
like
yeah.
there are still moments today where there are effects from
Mhm.
Flare-ups, I would
happening,
call them flare-ups.
but it was definitely a different season. I had not experienced anything like
Mhm.
that
Yeah, neither had
on such a
I.
personal level. And
Yeah.
he hadn't experienced that either.
Well, I think what I learned in that process and what I'm continuing to learn about just mental health in general and just our own bodies is, first of all, our bodies want to heal. They want to
Yep.
get back to
Mhm.
homeostasis.
Yep.
Like, so everything that I was going through, it was really just to get me back to a place of balance. I just had to go through that pain
Mhm.
and that discomfort to get back to homeostasis.
Mhm.
But we're frail.
Yep.
Oh,
Our,
yeah.
our bodies are made in the image of God. We are made in his image and likeness. We're fearfully and wonderfully made, but we're still frail.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so I just realized how, you know, that frailty in me, especially in my mental health space, if just given the right amount of stimuli, I don't know if it would have, like the entire time I went through that and the other times that I've gone through it is almost like if I would have done this differently, then I may would not have dealt with this. But at the same time, if it wouldn't have happened then, it was probably going to happen at some point later
Yeah.
Mhm.
because of the way that I process information and then just becoming anxious. And so I've
Mhm.
really had to take a lot of inventory about how I care for my brain and my nervous system and how much stimuli is too much stimuli
And not
and
being overly curious.
not being over curious about
certain
certain
things.
things. And yeah, so I don't necessarily have like generalized anxiety disorder. I don't have depression. I just get into these spaces where my brain is like, we're trying to process too much information, you're giving us too much stimuli, and your nervous
Mhm.
system is overactive right now.
Yeah.
So trying to down regulate that and getting back to a place where my body is in rhythm with itself. And that's happened 3 times. So 2 times after the initial, and then
Not as severe.
not as
The
severe.
first
Mhm.
time was
The
most
most
severe.
acute.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other 2 times have been a little more subtle, but nonetheless discomforting and jarring and kind of confusing. But Brittany has not left me in the process. So
Mhm.
I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, all types of thoughts during that process. It's spiritual warfare, obviously.
sure.
It's definitely spiritual
Mhm.
warfare. But all types of things come in out of your consciousness in that period of time for me that, make your heart want to turn in different directions. And I'm sure at times it made Brittany's heart want to turn in different directions. But our commitment to each other, the vows that we took when we got married, is that we're still together, and that through what they call it, sickness and health,
Yeah.
through richer and poor,
Richer
all
and
that. So
poor.
yeah, literally having to walk out those vows in this process.
Man,
Yeah.
that's so good.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So, what you mentioned that you have to be aware of how much stimuli you take in and
Mhm.
all of that. What does that look like when you feel yourself getting to a certain point, or what does it look like to moderate that for you?
So let me kind of break it down between conscious awareness and subconscious awareness. And
Oh, we're finna get scientific, y'all.
yeah, so
I'm here for it.
some of the terms that I would use, like allostatic load or window of tolerance, are
Mhm.
therapeutic terms that we would use. But just talking about my conscious awareness is, okay, I'm sitting here with you guys, I'm talking, but then in the background and the subconscious, which I'm not aware of, there's all this other stuff that may be below the surface.
Mhm.
And so if I'm not dealing with what's below the surface, then it has a tendency to rise when I'm more anxious.
Mhm.
That's with anybody, which is why you can have a panic attack out of nowhere, and like where they come from, where there's some stuff below the surface that wasn't being dealt with
Mhm.
in the subconscious realm. that I think informs that. And when you're in this window of tolerance, that means you have these normal stressors that you go through. So something happened at work, or something's going on with the kids, or something's going on here. And so there's kind of this ebb and flow of the daily stressors, and then your body kind of goes back into its normal baseline.
Mhm.
But then if you're creeping up and it's trending upwards and you're not able to find that place of baseline, then you get outside of your window of
Window
tolerance,
Yeah.
and your allostatic load is just overloaded. And so that's where my systems tend to go if I don't watch stress levels. And so what I've noticed in the 2 iterations or reiterations after the initial one is that they came during very high seasons of stress. So I just graduated from DTS. It's 2020,
Big life transition.
big life transition. Moving off campus from DTS, about to go into the profession. I got to take the NCE. We're about to find a house. So all that's all that's in the background, probably somewhere on the subconscious level, just kind of
Right.
under there and
Festering.
festering. And if I'm not doing the right things to kind of keep that in check, like going to therapy, like taking the initiative to get exercise and sleeping properly, then it has a tendency to kind of get overwhelmed. And then if it gets the right amount of stimuli from the wrong thing, then we're outside of that window of tolerance, and then we're off to no sleep and the anxious feelings and the intrusive thoughts and just the constant ruminations that I don't prefer, right? And so, yeah, to answer your question.
It did.
Okay.
It did.
So, I mean, because you eloquently just put that together.
So beautiful.
So how do you balance? Because you mentioned earlier, obviously that spiritual warfare, but you spoke about it so practically. So where's the fine line between, I guess, deciphering the difference?
So there's this book that I just finished reading that I would highly recommend anybody read. It's called The Garden Within by Dr. Anita Phillips.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
I was like, what
Yes.
is that?
And
Okay.
she has, I mean, the work that she's trailblazing in this area of emotional life and the body informing our thoughts has really revolutionized the way I think about this as a clinician. And so she comes from a very Christocentric understanding with also leading research in the field of psychology. And so she's talking about how our emotional life is informing our thought life. The somatic part of us, soma being dealing with the body and our physical nature, informing the framework of our thoughts. So you may not necessarily have the words right away, but you have the feelings that begin to articulate the thoughts. But thoughts in and of themselves are composite of words. Okay, so like the words that we speak, the words that we allow into our ears, into our heart space, and that land in the soil of our hearts begin to change and shape us in a spiritual way and an emotional way. But words are spirit.
Right.
And so when we talk about spiritual warfare, we're talking about, I believe, the war of words and the words that are spoken over us, the words that we believe, the things that we ingest from media, from music, from television, from sermons, from the conversation at the barbershop, from random people at work. And I noticed, for me, I can give a practical example. When I worked in a partial hospitalization intensive outpatient program with teens, it's a very secular work environment. It's a mental health space. We're working with a lot of broken kids, and most of the people that I work with are nominal believers or not believers at all. And so language, when I'm talking about like obscenity and profanity and all that, is like, that's kind of in the air of that environment. If you're not careful, then that seeps into your daily language and seeps into your heart, and you start talking like the people that you're around. When you get around intellectual people and you want to kind of, level up your brain in some way, you start wanting to talk like them. When you get around people that have an accent. So words are very much spirit. And in the spiritual life, we have to be very conscious of what we allow in our eye gate, in our ear gate, because and the Bible talks about it, guarding your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. Yeah.
And how you just practically speak about something so spiritual. I want to be like Carlos when I grow up.
Y'all have conversations like this at home all the time?
We do sometimes.
Sometimes.
His mind is.
Sometimes, like,
he is.
sometimes I think I don't want to like
Yeah, put too
do
much
it
on
with
her.
Brittany
Mhm.
because I don't like in marriage there's certain things you have an interest in and the other person may not,
Yeah.
and you don't want to like just overdo it
Yeah.
with the other person. I'm like, so I try to be conscious about
Lorraine knows about
what I
that.
allow to what I talk
Yeah,
about.
he's always like, "Am I talking too much?"
Yeah.
I'm used to it now.
Like, why you
Yeah.
ain't saying nothing back?
But here lately, we
'Cause I'm
have
learning.
been having some good conversations.
We have been having a good conversation, yeah. But I've always been a deep thinker and always been a language
Always.
person, so
Mm.
I think maybe that's what you liked about me. That I
Mhm.
was the talker of the two of us.
I never had to figure out what to talk about. It was never like awkward
Mm.
because I'm an introvert by nature. So Carlos was always
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
he could carry the conversation by himself.
Yeah.
I talk to the mirror.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
audience could be
So
Man,
I was like, "Oh, this is great! I just have to chime in
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
respond."
Yeah.
just give him a word or two. He'll take it and
So
he'll
you know
build
you
something
still
else
there.
out of it.
right.
Exactly,
Couple
exactly.
of nods of affirmation.
That's it. That's it.
So, Brittany, I kind of want to. This one's kind of directed to you. In Carlos being so aware of what his triggers are, and even going through the y'all say just this big crisis, but even the two that followed afterwards. For you, what has that been like or not? What has it been like just emotionally, but what does that look like for you? You mentioned, you worshipped in that room at the
Mhm.
hospital. You mentioned, that you prayed, but what does that really look like when the person you love is not there and he's not okay, but you know that you have to cover him and just, your day to day, what does that look like?
Good question. So when it's active, it's a little bit different. So just trying to hold him more accountable
Mhm.
to certain things and
Like
making
leading
sure-
up to it, like so that it doesn't get
You
to
see
the
his face? You see his
Yeah,
face?
so that it like he has certain things that he kind of abides by, certain like
Mhm.
rules that he'll
Yeah.
have, and so I'm like, okay, well, should you be doing this
Right.
or should you be doing that? And
Yikes.
just that accountability piece.
Nobody likes that.
Nobody likes that. Nobody likes
sorry,
that.
Carlos.
Right.
I'm
But
sorry.
I mean, I sometimes I do get frustrated with the process, but
Mhm.
also on the other hand, there's much grace by way of the Holy Spirit. So
Mhm.
it's you know that's what's keeping me accountable when I do want to be in my feelings about it and like, okay, here we go again.
Whew.
But I try to always just again still be supportive as I can. So the accountability piece, but also with praying for him and doing worship and the most recent stint that he had been talking to me about like he wants me to be healthier, work out. He likes to work out. I don't really like to work out, and that's okay. But
Mhm.
I was like, he hadn't been working out like he should have been, or things that would help his body to regulate. So I joined the gym.
Okay.
I was
Mhm.
like, you know what?
That's love.
I'm
She
joining
did.
this gym,
Mhm.
and we going to the gym.
We going.
Ooh, was
We
gone.
going to the gym.
And
We
for a while,
going
you
to the
wouldn't let up. I was
gym.
like, I don't want to go tonight.
Like, no, you
going.
going.
We going.
Because we not about to deal with it.
Yeah.
But,
seriously.
Yeah.
seriously.
but so that's
Yeah.
just a real life example of
Yeah.
one of the things that I think has helped.
Yeah, and I want to just say, like, I appreciate that because I think it kickstarted me back into wanting to do, like, we were kind of doing almost like a 2-a-day thing. Like, we were doing a morning walk and then we are going to the gym in the evening. Because the more I actually like did it, the more I realized the faster it helped my system to kind of get
Mhm.
back into a rhythm and a
Yeah.
flow,
Mhm.
right? And my sleep improved and all the things. And it's crazy because each time it's happened, I usually go through like a panic period of like I feel like I'm about to die. And I'm always telling Brittany that. He's like, "You're not about to die." I'm like, "But I feel like I'm dying." And my brain is just like it's just giving me these messages. But there is something happening on a very
Mhm.
physiological,
Yeah.
psychological level
Yeah.
that it's giving these signals in my system. So I'm just kind of listening to it. But at the same time, there's another thing that's happening inside of me where the healing is happening. It just feels like it's not happening.
Mhm.
So I have to be patient with that process.
Yeah.
And going to the gym, walking in the morning, having almost like a very strict bedtime, watching my diet very closely, taking my supplements, all of like helping that process of getting back to homeostasis. And she helped me in that way.
Mm-mm-mm.
That's love. That's
And
huge.
so
That is
How
marriage.
how does that make you feel, just as the man, head of the house, that she was there and she sacrificed?
Well, in the beginning, each time I always feel like a failure. I always feel
Mm-hmm.
like, now I'm better than this. Like
Okay.
like in a very, maybe it's an arrogant, prideful way. Like, I know that I can do better than this,
Mhm.
and so I'm doing more self condemnation, which is not going to help.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Right.
not going to help fix the situation. Like, I'm in it now, but I go through a phase of like being very remorseful and like apologetic. I'm like, I'm sorry, like I'm dealing with this again. Da 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 da. And she's like, it's okay, like stop apologizing. But once I get over that, it's just the beauty and the, I guess, the practical side of how Christ loves us,
Mm-hmm.
and he's still there for us, and then just being that modeled in the marriage is like, there's someone in my corner
Yeah.
to help me through that tough
Mm-hmm.
time in the healing process. And you know, I would say for anybody, whether you're married or dating or whatever, just in community with people, like, your words matter,
Mm-hmm.
and when you don't think they matter, they do,
Mm-hmm.
and your prayers matter. But every little thing that you can do to just show up, being present for that person, those mornings that she didn't want to get up and she would, or the days she would go to the gym with me and she didn't really want to, or I didn't really want to, but we still did it anyway. I think that just
Mm.
put more in that bank. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that love bank and that consistency bank.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with our marriage having gone through these kinds of ebbs and flows, whether it was self-inflicted or not, um, our marriage is stronger. Like,
Mm-hmm.
adversity makes,
Mm-hmm.
usually, if
Yep.
you come with it with the right attitude, it can make the marriage stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just been like, it was humbling. I was remorseful. I was very apologetic, but then I see the beauty and the strength behind how God intended marriage to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, it's funny or interesting. I want to say funny. That's kind of rude, but it's very interesting that this has happened pretty much since y'all been married,
Mm-hmm.
and so these are things that, like you said, have strengthened y'all along the way, and could have easily been, you know, for had it been a weaker person, been terms for like, man, I said for better or for worse, but I ain't say for that.
Not for this, right?
Like that,
Yeah.
nah,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Mhm.
And so, did that at any point in time ever cross your mind? Like, wait a minute, did he have mental health problems before we got married and he hid them from me or he kept them from me?
I don't know if I ever really thought about that, but there definitely were moments where it's like, you know what? I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, I do have the Holy Spirit inside of me. So
Come on.
with his
Mm-hmm.
grace, he helped me to extend more grace.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, like, this is my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You know?
that's the dog.
Well, and then at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, before we got married, I didn't even
You didn't
notice
know.
these things
Yeah.
about myself.
I
So it
didn't
was
even
like,
notice.
I didn't know this was a thing, and I think, but then when I gone through it, like, I've noticed, oh, there's seasons and there are pockets in your life where you may have got amplified a little bit towards that anxious brain, but you were able to get back into baseline quicker. So like,
Mm-hmm.
our wedding day is a for me a prime example of like, leading up to the wedding. I think I was in that state of like anxiety and like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like, this is a big deal.
But you had
Mm-hmm.
never experienced that before.
I never experienced it. Yeah, I never experienced it to that extent before. So I was like, this is a big deal. And, I'm putting on this pressure on myself of like,
Mhm.
you have to be like, this idea of perfectionism,
Yep.
Mhm.
which
That's
the
the
enemy
one.
loves
Mm-hmm.
to
Right.
use all of our weaknesses and all
He
that
loves
to be like, you got to be perfect for the rest of your life. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is for the rest of
This
my life. Oh
is for
my
the rest of
gosh,
my
I got to be the
life.
perfect husband or whatever. And then I didn't say that, but that's kind of what the energy and the thought process kind of lent itself, like, in other words, like, you have to be on it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember just kind of the day of the wedding feels like a blur because I was so much in my head about it.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until afterwards we got to the honeymoon that I kind of calm down from that and just like get into being with Brittany and just enjoying the new journey.
Yeah.
We did talk about it that night. I remember
Yeah,
that.
we did. I think a
We
little
did
bit.
a little bit. It
A little
wasn't
bit.
very long, but we did talk
But
about
yeah.
it. And
And then honestly, like, when we think about our vows, we don't know, like we say these things, but really don't know what the full extent of what's going to happen. Because I've worked with couples in my practice who, like, it was going this way and then it completely turned right after they got married. It's like, whoa, what happened? So we say these things with, like, the extent of what's going to happen next, and we were never really prepared for it, and you never really can fully prepare for what marriage is going to look like in the journey that unfolds.
Right, you can't.
That's why you got to trust God. And so to have an anchor is very important.
Yeah.
And I don't think that if we had not already had our foundational anchor in Christ, then we'd be having a different story. Because, I mean, honestly, I went through phases of suicidal ideation and all of that. But I never really had the full on, it wasn't like a whole heart posture. It was just like fleeting thoughts that kind of come in and out. But there are other people that's not their story.
Yeah.
And things I've worked with people who have dealt with that. Yeah.
So whenever you mention foundation, God, Christ being your anchor, it's interesting how Christ is your anchor, but also your faith was one of the reasons for the whole manic episode type deal to kind of happen. And so even more on a personal level, what other foundational things did you take into y'all's marriage? Family, background, all those different things
to kind of keep us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our word has always been the church, though. Like our context for family, for community, revolved around church, family, church community.
Is that because you both grew up that way prior to? Okay.
Yeah, we both grew up that way, and that was one of the things that brought us together. Is that we talk about the idea of being equally yoked and all of that. I married someone who was big on family. I married someone who was big on prayer. I married someone who was big on going to church and being a part of the body, like actively a part of the body. That's what drew me to her. I believe that was one of the things that she was attracted to in me, because I was serving at the time at our church.
Man got caught serving.
Hey.
Yeah. That's how you get 'em.
I was serving,
Get you one in the
and
church,
she was
that's
in
serving.
the audience, and it was a prayer meeting. I remember seeing her. I was like, not a lot of young people come to the prayer meeting.
Yeah,
And
right.
don't.
And
They
don't.
sure
Right.
don't.
Now, the mothers and the elders
be
and the
in there,
deacons, they
yeah.
gonna be there.
They
But
gonna
the
be
young
there.
people at prayer, I was like, oh.
Prayer meeting.
Prayer meeting, yes. So I think he is the foundational anchor. I think if I think about it in the terms of how it happened to me and who's to blame or whatever, he was never to blame for it. It was just a process that I had to go through. Again, the testing of my faith. I think it was a testing of my faith and like what really holds true in me. And if the enemy can steal that, he used intellect against me.
Yep.
He used another believer, not necessarily like saying they were, being used specifically by Satan, but I'm saying like he used that circumstance to sow seeds of doubt and sow seeds of uncertainty and insecurity that brought up all the other ruminations. And so that's what it took to break me. I mean, for somebody else, it could be something different, but it took that to break me, because I'm not into substances, and I couldn't get carried off into, sexual promiscuity, so it had to be something that really hit me in a cerebral way. Yeah.
Which is also a strength for you.
It's also a strength for me. Yeah.
I would say the joke is on him, because
Yeah.
you're a whole psychotherapist out here.
You're right.
Helping people deal with this,
Yeah.
and you know what they are going through, so
Yeah.
you have that connection.
And every single time that it's happened, I feel like it gives me more resourcing to take. And so like I know, like I can identify with a lot of my clients because of especially when I worked in that hospital setting, is with the way that their minds work as teenagers and how impressionable their minds are. Like that really helped me to identify with them. Like I've been in a hospital before too. I've dealt with suicide. I've dealt with self-harming thoughts. I've dealt with depression and insomnia and all the things. So but enough about me.
I'm sorry, we did just sit there. Because it is both of y'all's
Because
stories.
It is,
Right.
it's both our
Right.
story.
It's
it
y'all
is.
story. Yeah, it's y'all story. Because there has to be a support system, an immediate support system. And so like I'm just really sitting and processing like okay, what would I do
Hmm.
as a husband if the role was reversed? Like, how would I set up systems and take care of the house and still take care of the finances, blah, 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 if she was going through?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would I say? What would I do? Who would I call? How would I call or cry out to God on her behalf? How would I intercede? And so just to think about that, like
Mhm.
being in that in real time,
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, you definitely was meant for him because ain't no way.
Ain't no way.
Ain't no way.
Yeah.
Can I speak to rhythm
Yeah.
and routine? Because I think in any healthy relationship, you guys have to create rhythms, routines
Mm-hmm.
that in turn create culture. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when you come together, Brittany had her own culture and rhythms and routines before we got married. I did too.
Mhm.
So as we synthesize all that together, now it's time for us to kind of think about, okay, what is the Lions routine and flow and rhythm?
What's the culture?
What's
of
the
our
culture of
home?
this
Yeah.
household? And
Mhm.
so it was definitely a composite of things that we took individually and brought them together. But then, like, what do we want to be like main staples, especially if we eventually expand our family and expand our, brand or whatever? What does that look like? And so I think if you're a spouse helping someone go through something like whether it be mental health or it could be a physical ailment, keep the rhythms and routines going. I'm talking about the healthy ones,
Mm-hmm.
like the ones that deal with prioritizing self-care, the ones that deal with prioritizing your spiritual walk. You know, don't stop praying, don't stop reading your word, don't stop going to church, but then also adding in, go see a therapist, go see the doctor, take the supplements, do whatever that's being recommended to help. The natural things though, like going outside. I mean, for me, I would just say those rhythms and then her ability to co-sign on me trying to get into those rhythms helped me get back to a better place mentally.
I think that you're so right. Rhythms and routines are really essential. And I think when we're dating, it's it changes when you get married, especially when you live
When you
together. And
live
then
When you
people are
live
like, you know
together.
what, never mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
That's the
it
thing.
feels like it's not working, but you're
Uh-huh.
right. You have to blend those
You have to
and
blend
figure
up.
those out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, Brittany, you mentioned that I don't know if this was on camera or off camera. You mentioned that you were an introvert. I think that was on camera. So what do some of those rhythms and routines look like at home with clearly my boy is an extrovert.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, big time. And you're an introvert. What does that look like at home? Because I remember for us in the beginning, it was hard because I felt like you're getting on my nerves. And it's really not that you're getting on my nerves.
And I
it's
felt
just
rejected.
I just need space. But he took that as you don't want me. And it's like, well, no, but yes, but so
We
what
went through that. Yeah.
Mhm.
what does that look like for you? How do you set your boundaries for your routines?
I think so I mean I have certain things that I like and that I don't like. I think we've gotten to the point now where Carlos pretty much knows. Like he's very intuitive and he's really kind of in touch with how my emotional state is at the time, which is great. Most of the time.
I mean, 10 years in, I bet
I mean, he
got
should.
something.
Yeah, yeah. But I just like simple things. So recently he discovered, so I am the person who drives with no music. Like I might listen to
Ever?
something. I do sometimes, but usually
Uh-huh.
I can ride in silence.
Really?
Man.
Yes, I can
Wow.
ride in silence. And so Carlos never wants to ride in silence. And so I'm always like, oh, it's too loud. It's
Too much
too loud.
stimulation. Yeah.
And so he has started just turning the music down. So when I'm like, can you turn it off? Like it's just too much. He's like, let me just turn it down.
And I'm sure he's singing because he be singing with no music. Like I've caught you, like when we've hung out and stuff, and you just get a little song in your head and you be singing. So I'm sure you be giving it all you got with the music
Man.
loud.
So that's probably the best example I could give is just like this. He'll have, whether we're in the car at home, he'll have the speaker on and it'll just be like blasting. Or,
Yeah.
I'll be like, can we just please?
That's me.
Can we just
That's him.
please
That's
turn
me.
it down or like turn it off? Like I need a break.
Yeah.
And if we have been, say we had to serve 2 services
She ain't gonna wanna hear
all
nothing.
day, I'm like, no, I don't want to listen to another sermon right now. I don't want to play loud
I
music.
feel
Can
you.
we just be quiet?
Quiet,
Can we
right.
just be quiet? And
Yeah. I want to I want to say too, like I've discovered or rediscovered the importance of quiet and solitude just from like
Yes,
a
you have.
podcast that I've been listening to. But we have this like this noise. He calls it noise pollution
Mm-hmm.
around us, and we don't want to quiet our minds because we're afraid of what comes up. And I think maybe for a good portion of my life, maybe I don't really know. Maybe the idea of like having no music and having no TV and having nothing on and just like sitting with yourself and quiet. For some people, that can be very nerve wracking. But I've noticed that as I've tuned into that more, like I've appreciated just going through ebbs and flows. And I do love a good turn up. I love music. I love sound. I love that atmosphere. But it takes me back to childhood. Like I would go outside, and just be in the backyard, just playing. There's no music. It's just the sounds of nature and all that kind of stuff. But I would say, like, I recently came. I was like, I like this. No music and riding in silence every now and then. It's actually
Yeah.
kind of
Every now-
nice.
Yeah.
Now and
Yeah,
then.
every
Yeah.
now and then.
I have to agree. Maybe because I'm not a huge intellectual like y'all, that my mind don't be in no deep thought. So when it's silent, I'm like, whew, I might be thinking like, oh, I need to get this done. But it's usually very chill for me. And
Mhm.
I used to be in the classroom, and so hearing noise all day, I remember I had to tell him that I hear noise all day. I make decisions all day. Like I just needed to be quiet,
Right.
and it was something about coming home, and he would come home and he'd be like, why is it quiet in here? And I'd be like, well, it was like, it was really nice. And he turns on
was
some
until you came in.
music. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
didn't want that. So I can definitely relate to you with
Musical
that.
people just, I don't know. It's like,
But I am a music person.
okay.
I really am. But
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And since having Kai, the overstimulation of moms is real. I don't know if y'all have heard about that from mom
Mhm.
friends, but I sometimes it's just like, ah! Like, and I've never been that person, but I literally will like, ah! Like, leave me alone. Like, stop talking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not nice.
I'm sorry.
You really hurt my feelings.
When I did my,
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I'm part of the reason why you and
yeah, you were.
we're
You
gonna have
and
to pray. We're
Kairos.
gonna have to go to a prayer meeting after the podcast. Talk about that. So, what's the entrepreneur lifestyle like for both of y'all?
Mm.
It has been different in different seasons. So
Yeah.
the season that we're in right now, because Carlos is back since June, right?
Yeah,
June 1st,
since June.
2023.
Oh, whenever
Sure.
you switch jobs.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
went
yeah,
from
yeah.
that facility, the mental health
Mhm.
facility, full
Yeah.
time
Okay.
to like now private practice,
Overtime.
making overtime, just
Yeah.
making my own schedule and building my caseload again. So
Okay.
I'll have a lot more flexibility in my
Got
schedule.
you. Got you.
Mhm. And even when he was working there, like that put a strain on things because he was working
Gosh,
so
yes.
Mhm.
much and it was interfering with our routines.
Yeah.
And I was not okay with that.
You were
not.
So, because I really appreciate quality time, and to me, we have, in some cases, we have different definitions of what quality time.
Yeah, you got to
I'm
break
like,
that
we
down.
need to be sitting down, like some type of physical touch. If we just like sitting here, like Carlos might think, oh, this is quality time, but in my mind,
That's
it's
real.
not.
Mhm.
So we weren't getting that, and so now that we're both in this entrepreneur space, it's been better because he's more available. He's more available for me, and we get to do, like, we've been going on the walks in the morning, which is nice.
Yeah.
I haven't been this week because of just life and busyness, but having the option to just kind of hang out with each other. So like even when I'm gone all day and he might be at home, I'm like, oh, I didn't see you all day, or I didn't get a chance to talk to you. So entrepreneurship life is in this season has been working well for us in
Mhm.
terms of being able to get that time to spend with one another, like the quality time together.
I think it also adds a level of sometimes with entrepreneurial living, it can add a level of like, I mean, it's all a faith walk, but now you don't have a salary. And so we
For
out
sure.
here. We out
Hustle.
here
You
on
gotta
faith.
Out
We out
here.
here hustling,
Out here.
grinding.
Yeah.
The uncertainty can kick in at sometimes, and we still do our thing, but I think that's been different for us. And so
Do you
Yeah.
feel that it becomes tension, or like
not between
or
us,
more
I don't
like
think.
a push in a positive way? Like, hey, baby, I need you to get these. Hey,
I think
Did you get some
can I
clients?
speak for
Yeah.
I think Brittany, um out of the two of us, maybe her drive in the area of her business is a lot more on than me. I like to just like have it on for a little bit and then be ready to turn it off.
He's
Like
always content.
I'm very much like,
Like,
oh,
in
I've done
every
I've done
season.
work for a little while.
Mhm.
Like let's
Mhm.
go do something else.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
I
me.
don't like think about it all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I rather think about something else. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, theology or something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Mhm.
That's just kind of how I'm wired. But Brittany, I think, and so sometimes maybe you want my hustle to match yours.
Sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
I experience that. We experience that sometimes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like I don't care. It's just like
It
I
looks
just
different.
it just looks different on me.
Mhm.
It looks different on me.
Mm.
And then what could look like apathy is like, no, it's just me taking care of some other aspect of my emotional life right now. And then I'll get back to the grind in a little bit.
Yeah, because honestly, I did not want him to leave
She
the
didn't
job.
want
I
him
was
to leave
like,
that job.
you just
the
we've been working
salary
for this,
job,
the
the one-
salary
hospital one
job.
that
Mm-hmm,
okay.
mm-hmm.
At first, I did not want him to leave because I'm like, we finally,
Yeah.
Steady.
we finally reached.
So on
Because-
one end, it was like the financial aspect of busy that we so often experience in couples is like you making the money, you got the job, you got the promotion, you know, you up there, but then what's suffering on the flip
Yeah,
side
and
of
that's
that?
and that's the thing. There was a suffering
Mm.
with that, and so I was convicted. And I'm like, this is just the source.
Yeah.
This is not the resource. So I mean, this is just a resource.
So,
It's
yeah,
not the source.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So I was like, you know what? Do what you need to do. I'm here to support
Mm.
you. We gon'
But even in that, I regretted it because I was like, if I had been doing my A game on that job, like going to therapy during that time or doing the things that I felt like,
then you might not
Mhm.
have
then I
to-
may not have had to have left. But at the same time, I was not at peace in that job either.
Yeah.
Because of the work the way it was
Mhm.
and the ripple effect that it was having on me in other ways. And so it had to
Mhm.
happen. It's almost like God will show you, you just kind of be forced out of it. And then when the process of kind of getting to another new normal, because this is what happens in marriage. Like you have one phase and then you get used to that. And then he'll be like, okay, let's do something else.
Switch
That's
it
how
up.
faith
Yep.
works. It's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
okay, so now I
Mhm.
got to readjust and recalibrate and pray again and
Right.
cry again. Like,
Yep.
God, okay.
Yep.
And then
Yes.
you're back into another phase. It's like, oh, I'm alive. Like
We made it.
we
Okay,
made it
we
through that.
okay.
Yep.
God was like, yes.
That's real, Carlos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yep, that's real.
That's yeah. So y'all been married. It'd be 10 years on
Next month.
November 16th.
November 16th.
Partners since 2012.
Man,
11 years together.
Wow.
wait, y'all got married after a year of knowing each other? You must have really liked
Oh,
him.
y'all knew. Oh,
I
okay.
don't think it takes long for you to.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
and we
when you
went
know,
into
you
know
it
what?
with the
That's-
purpose
you
of
know.
That's a good point.
like, okay, we were dating for marriage.
Yeah, we dated
So
for
we had that
marriage.
conversation of not wasting each other's time, like
Mhm.
just to see if we were compatible, because you could really be compatible with many people,
Right,
but
right.
just taking the time to really get to know someone and hone in and see if you would be willing
Mm-hmm.
to put in the effort and do
Yeah.
have the marriage.
Well, what's crazy is I remember a little lady at my job way back in the day. I worked at the college, and she was like, date somebody for all 4 seasons. See what they like in winter, spring,
Mm.
summer, fall.
That's that old wisdom
was
right
just
there.
And I
That's
say
that
took that to
school
heart,
wisdom.
and I was like, "We're gonna date all 4
He
seasons. Let me
really
see
did.
you like."
I was like, we
Literally.
literally. What's the problem?
She could have gotten. Yeah, we could have. Yeah, it probably would have been 6 months for you, right? If we
Mm.
dated.
I mean,
But I
don't
was
know
like,
if
let me-
6 months, but
Oh,
I was
okay.
like,
No.
I feel like we know we're.
I was like, let me
we're
see
ready.
you. Let me see you all year round. What you like?
Yeah. See if you the same year round.
And I heard another pastor say that reason. I was like, oh, so it's out there. Yeah, all 4 seasons. So yeah,
Yeah, that's a
kinda
bar.
our
So I'm
reason.
using that. I'm
Right.
definitely gonna keep
That's
that in
good
my pocket.
wisdom.
That's that old school wisdom. All 4 seasons. See what
All
they
4.
like.
Seasons.
That's cool. So in these, I mean, I'm sure y'all have seen, obviously we've spoken on a lot of these, like different versions of one another throughout this entire time. And so, but prior to y'all getting married, what are some things that maybe y'all brought into it? Be it some something that y'all saw growing up, with family, parents, this, that, and the third. Like, were there some things that y'all brought into the marriage that actually no longer exist at this point?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
I have to think about it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think about that one. That no longer exists in our marriage. I would say maybe a tendency or inclination
Mm.
in me no longer exists, and that is when we're talking about that silence and that quiet. I'm learning, even as being the what we call the head or the leader for the family, I don't always have to say it.
Mm.
Mm.
You know,
Okay.
just like holding my peace sometimes, like
Mm-hmm.
because I make a lot of assumptions, or we can make a lot of assumptions in marriage, and we're ready to like defend that position
Mhm.
and kind of pit our assumption and our position against the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And so we come to the other person with a lot of antagonistic energy and accusatory energy,
Mm-hmm.
when like that may not be the way they see it, and that may not be the bent that they're coming from. So I'm learning, because when I first got married, my assumptions and my preconceived notions were like, I thought they were truth, they were fact.
Mm.
And so I'm ready to be like,
And they were
I'm
just
gonna
feeling.
they were
defend
just
those.
I'm about to defend those, and like,
Defend my true
and then it
feelings.
would come down to like the whole like, I'm not gonna let the sun go down on my wrath, and we're gonna talk about this right now.
Yeah.
And I would say, this how you feeling? I know, I can tell. Da, 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 da.
This how you feeling.
I still struggle with that sometimes, but I think I'm giving up that need to like always assume and believe that my opinion or my preconceived understanding of how it may be in Brittany's world is the facts or is the
Mm.
truth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's sometimes like just being quiet.
Mm.
Man.
And not we're gonna come back to it, but it's just like right now I really have to say nothing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times what happens is when I've learned to do that, even if my assumption was right about how Brittany may be feeling or what may be going on, I've held it, and she'll come back around and inform me when she's ready.
Mhm.
But Brittany's way of processing isn't my way of processing, and I have learned to accept that. Like, she don't process the same way as you,
Nah.
bro.
And
Like,
I have begun to process
you have.
more quickly than
Yeah,
before. So
yeah.
that's probably one thing that has
Mm-hmm.
changed. I think Carlos has led well in the area of confrontation and how we disagree. I remember when we first got married. Were you done saying what you had to say?
Yeah.
When we first got married, again, like, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Like, he wanted to talk about it and get it out. And he was always quick to apologize. Like, he still is. So he would say, well, I'm sorry for doing blah, blah, blah. And I think you should just apologize too. And I'm like,
You ready to wrap it
Yeah,
up?
yeah,
Close it
yeah.
up.
I'm like,
Ready to go ahead and
apologize
deal
for
with it.
what? Like, I didn't do anything. I am not wrong in this situation.
He gonna go ahead and set the stage for you.
Listen, right? And so as time progressed and as our relationship grew, I would begin to say, you know what? I'm sorry for XYZ or whatever I did or said. And so that's kind of been, I think, something that we have stuck to pretty much.
Mhm.
And then it doesn't take me as long to process now
Mm.
Mhm.
as it did before. So,
And it's like you feel it just our marriage is really wholesome in that way, because we're learning from each other and we get each other better. And so it makes it easier to kind of
yeah.
come. But I always know, even if we do resolve it like verbally, but the energy or the animosity is still in our system, I don't
Mhm.
sleep well. Like when there's
Yeah.
He sure does not.
animosity between us,
Yeah,
even
I
though we
don't
probably would have
either.
said everything, it was like I still like
I didn't get it all out.
I didn't get it all out. Like my spirit is not settled, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so a part of it is like I'm driving that based on how I process. It's like
Mm.
my spirit need to get it all out. So let's get it all out right now. But even there have been times where maybe you've felt that and you've had that experience too, like where I want to move on. And you like, well, I can't sleep right now, so I'm gonna wake you up.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like get it.
If I'm not sleeping,
Ain't nobody
We
sleeping.
not
Ain't
sleeping.
We not
nobody
sleeping.
sleeping. Yep.
So we're learning that process
that's
of
not
like,
often, but
not
it
often,
has
yeah.
happened before.
But I would say, like, I think the way we relate to each other confrontationally has definitely gotten better. That we've never had no like knock them out, drag them, fist, cussing,
We
throwing
basically
stuff.
like sit and talk like this. For the most
Yeah.
part,
Mhm.
about whatever it is. Like, I didn't appreciate when you said XYZ, and it made me feel like ABC.
Mhm.
Maybe a little raised voice every now and then, and a little more
Mhm.
rolling in the neck, that kind of thing. But not nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a
Some
little.
little emotion.
Just a little. Just a little.
Yeah.
A little more encouragement.
And I'll say
They call
the-
it heated fellowship.
Yeah, heated fellowship.
And I'll say the other thing for me too is just kind of expecting that change will happen. Like we will not be the same people we were when we first got married.
Mhm.
They're like it's unrealistic. And I think for a while I had that frame of mind, like, why we can't be like we
Yeah.
were. But it's
Yeah.
like, no, you're I'm not the same.
You're
He's
not the
not the
same.
same.
Yeah.
We're not the same. And we shouldn't expect to stay the same because there's change. As you go through life, change is inevitable and it happens because of whatever situation um, or whatever life throws at you. But being like, oh, you know what? Change is here and I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. I'll embrace it.
Man, that is so real because a lot of us we go into marriage thinking, "Man, I'm gonna be with this person for the rest of my life,"
Mm-hmm.
not realizing that that person is not going to be that person.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's like we have to go into marriage or what have you with the expectation of change happening and being mature enough to realize that it is going to happen
Yeah.
and really just sitting in that,
Mhm.
really sitting in the change that we're expecting to happen. Now, it's not to say we're going to be prepared
Right.
for it when it does show up and we're going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to know what to do," but just being in that frame of mind of expecting it to happen and knowing that it is going to happen. I think that helps us at least get out in front of it before it happens. And I'm like, oh my God, who are you? I woke up one day and you became this person. Did you expect me to stay the same?
Yeah.
And so we should be expecting our spouses to change, obviously in a healthy way. We should
Right.
expect them to change in a manner as well as for ourselves. Because if we change, why wouldn't they?
Exactly.
Mm,
Yeah.
So I really love that you said that expecting the change to
yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was really good.
That's good. So, something we like to ask every couple, and y'all could answer together or your answers could be individual, is what are 1 to 2 pieces of marriage advice that you would give? These could be things that you didn't know. Like, I had no idea when I got married that this was a part of marriage, or this is a big takeaway that I've learned, or just, just something that you want to share with other married couples or people who are aspiring to be married.
You can go first.
Okay. I would just reiterate the
The routines.
the routines and the rhythms, yeah, and,
Figured.
and creating the culture. That definitely is going to help because even though you change some of those rhythms and routines that you started off with are symbolic of like how you were at that time and just
Mhm.
things that made the magic. I call it the magic of our relationship. Like what makes the fabric of our relationship what it is we love to travel.
Mm.
So like we still prioritize traveling together. We still prioritize experiencing new things together. We call it KB adventures, right? Like going to go do stuff
I
together.
love that.
And so that hasn't changed. There are aspects of us that are changing, but just keeping those rhythms. The other thing that I would also say is like I kind of want to ask y'all this question, honestly. And you all can chime in, but coming back to it, just keeping your focus on having examples of healthy marriages
Oh yeah,
and being around healthy marriages
definitely.
because
Yeah.
there's like this deterioration that I see in culture right now, even within the church, from prominent figures, from non-prominent figures. It's just like, man, like I never imagined you would have got a divorce or
Mhm.
seeing that happen. And so
Yeah.
like the state of marriage and just like the idea of union being forever, I say if you want to stay married, like you got to be around healthy
You
marriages
have
that
to.
Yep.
are
You have
going
to.
to last. Because that encourages you. Because when I start seeing divorce here, divorce there, even though Brie and I are good, it's just like it's just again the enemy became so
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a
for sure.
The
reality.
seed is the
that's
seed
Yeah.
is still planted.
That's
So
still is
real.
planted, and so you
don't
got to be
water it
around
down.
healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We definitely agree.
Mhm.
And mirror that, be around older ones. I
Yep.
like
Yeah.
to be around some old folk
Yep.
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
some your age.
Yeah.
And just talk to
Mhm.
the old folk about what's helped them to stay together 50, 40
Yep.
years.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
That's real.
And I would say this is real cliche, but the whole being equally yoked, like it's so
It's
crucial.
Bible.
I can't stress it
I
enough.
don't think
Honestly,
it's cliche. I think it's actually something that people may not fully understand. So if
they
you
might
want to
not
dive into
understand.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Break it down for us, babe.
So just it really does matter when you have same morals, same values, same religion, same practices. Like you don't have to be 100% alike,
yeah.
but when it comes to times like what we were talking about earlier with what Carlos has
Mhm.
gone through, like those are the moments that are so crucial. Like a pretty face doesn't get you
Come on.
through
Come
that.
on.
You need to you need to have some substance.
Yeah.
Come
You need to
on.
have some
Some-
own seeds that have blossomed within you
Come on.
to be able to handle those situations. So being with someone who is like-minded in most ways is really going to
Mhm.
help you to combat the thoughts that you have, like, okay, you know what, I didn't sign up for this, I'm
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
So having that, being able to grow in that, whatever that is for you, being able to grow in that together is really going to help. So I feel like you're already at a disadvantage when you are unequally yoked.
Mhm.
And the other thing I would say is be okay with compromise in the marriage to a certain extent. Now, I'm not talking about nothing crazy, nothing
Yeah.
unbiblical, but don't just always be a taker.
Yep.
You have to
Ooh.
give, you have to be considerate,
Mm.
you have to extend grace. And I'm a person who's very considerate, I feel like. And a lot of times I feel like Carlos is not as considerate. And traditionally, this might be changing, but he's not as big of a giver as I am either. Just in general life, buying somebody lunch or getting a gift, just like a little happy for something. Like I grew up with that. That's something that I
Mhm.
brought into our
Yes, that's a good
culture.
example.
My
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
just
Huge givers.
huge
Us
givers.
too.
That's just the way that they were. So that's what I knew. That was the culture of my home. We were giving people. And so that's something that I brought into this. And so the consideration that you have for your spouse, like if Carlos is blasting music and he's like, okay, well, Brittany gonna be home in 30 minutes. Let me blast this music for 30 minutes.
Mhm.
And then when I hear
Turn
that
it off.
garage door open up and
Yep.
hear her
Party
come
is
through the door,
over.
let me
Yeah.
turn that off. And same thing with me.
Yeah.
While I haven't for the last couple of months been watching TV regularly during the week, I would watch my program, and Carlos didn't always like having the TV on. So when he would pull up, I would be like, let me turn my little show off. I
Yeah.
can pick it up later and greet him and say, hey, like, how was your day? He enjoys deep conversation
Yeah.
and talking. So I'm like, let me make sure I'm doing some of that. So don't always be a taker. You want to give. And that's, it's not, how they say this one person completes me. It's really two people
Mhm.
coming together, two
Completing
whole
each
people
other. Yeah.
coming together, and then you
Complement
complement
each-
each
yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah.
You complement each other. So those are two of the biggest things that I could
Those were
probably.
really good.
That's some really good
They were
gems.
great.
Those were
Yeah,
wonderful.
that was good,
things.
sis.
And so before we go though, I want people to know how they can find y'all individually. And we want to hold space for what you do, because it might be a sis out here, or it might be a brother out here that's like, hey, I'm trying to get this bachelor pad together, for the girl,
Yes.
or somebody may be looking for therapy, or they just may, like you think of somebody and someone reaches out and you're like, oh, I have somebody for that. So
Yep.
how can they find y'all? Yeah. How can they
Okay.
reach y'all?
Yep.
I'm on all social platforms just about, and you can find me at Brittany Lyons Interior. So Brittany is BRITTANY, and then Lyons is LYONS. Interiors, that's on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, like all the places. My website is BrittanyLyonsInteriors.com, so you can reach out there. If you need some help with services, I always have a free call, so that's no obligation to you. If you are interested in having a design professional come and assist you, we just chat on the phone before you ever decide you want to pay me to come out and have a consult. So there's no harm in having a free call.
Yep. And she take care because she painted the church for us, y'all. She did real good too.
That's right. We did.
She
do
did the
that.
church for us. We're gonna have you. Yeah, I'm gonna have you come back for another job here soon. I got something
Just
for
let
you.
me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I got something for you.
As far as social, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Instagram. Mr.KLYONS, K Lyons. But as far as like if you want to hit me up for therapy, come to my Psychology Today profile. My name is Carlos with the K. Then K is my middle initial, and then Lyons, LYONS. You can find me when you look for a therapist, Carlos K. Lyons, LPC, Dallas, Texas. All my information about how you can get in contact with me, consultation, fee, insurance, all that's on my Psychology Today profile.
And who do you work with?
I work with Davis Counseling Center.
No, I'm sorry. Clients. I'm sorry. What do you specialize in?
Hold on.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
wait. So yeah, my specialty, I really love working with the kids.
Okay.
Carlos love the kids.
Carlos
So
Brittany.
starting at 12 years old and up, 12 to 18-year-olds, adolescents, work with couples, men,
Okay.
black men,
He has a lot of
male clients, young
which is
men.
needed.
Yeah, a lot of young men, young adults, and areas of focus would be stress and anxiety management, depression, existential identity stuff as well, along with just the BIPOC population, Black, Indigenous, people of color.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And also we didn't get to this and I wanted to, but also my man Carlos is vegan. So if you need some you need some recipes or something, holla at my boy. He does have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He does
I
have a
do.
YouTube channel.
What's
Oh my
what's your
gosh.
channel?
Carlos Lyons.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just Carlos
I
Lyons.
forgot about that. Is that part of? Is that one of the things that you implemented when you were talking about different ways to take care of your body? Is
Yeah.
that one of those?
So I did initially go into veganism thinking about my mental health per se.
Okay.
It was more about my physical health, but when I got into that world, I learned a whole lot more. Like veganism was my intro to holistic wellness because there's a lot of different thinkers in that space, and so that really just opened me up to really that integration. So now in my mental health practice, my focus is to be a mental health, but also holistic health advocate. So when I look at therapy, I think of it from a holistic perspective. So I talk to clients about diet, exercise, sleep, hygiene, all the things impacting the quality of their mental health. Yeah.
Yep.
How long have you been vegan?
Ooh.
Was it 2020?
4 years.
2019, I think.
Oh, 2019. Okay.
And let me
'Cause I
just
remember it was
let me
kinda
just say I'm
new.
not like that. I'm not like that.
You're not
vegan that's-
extreme.
I'm not extreme, so don't think
that
that I'm
mean?
so like they're vegans that are like real like alkaline
If
and
you eat animals, you're gonna.
or they're
you
the
know.
alkaline vegans. There's the ones that's
okay.
the moralist, the moralist,
Oh.
ethical
Yeah,
vegan.
I got you. I
Like,
got
don't
I'm just
kill
out here just
animals.
trying to
you.
eat
Eat
more.
honey?
I eat honey,
Okay.
so I'm not that vegan. That's like
You're more plant based,
I-
and vegan is like a trigger
it's
word,
kind of
I
like a
think,
political
and
term.
I
now.
got you.
You could be vegan and unhealthy.
I think
'cause
I'm
there are a
definitely
lot.
I'm definitely very plant centric, and I'm definitely a 100% strong vegetarian.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
understand because we were
vegetarian.
vegetarian.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
were
I'm a
yeah.
not
strong
vegan.
vegetarian.
Yeah, Carlos sent us
But I don't
recipes.
I don't really get into like a lot of eggs. I don't get into a lot of dairy just because
You
I
don't
just
eat eggs or
I don't really eat that stuff at all. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify for the audience.
Yeah.
Like, don't think I'm just like this. All my clients need to be vegan and all that kind of stuff. Like, no, I'm not really trying to promote that
I'm not
specifically.
vegan. So.
Just holistic.
Yeah, I was about to
wellness.
say Brittany is not vegan.
Brittany's not
No.
vegan.
which is crazy.
That was a whole other thing we could have talked about
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I
Just
know.
like
I forgot
diet
about that.
and
Okay, we're gonna go there for like a small smidget. I just
See,
have one
we was
question.
trying to get y'all out, but here we go.
I
We're
just
going
have
right
one
back.
question.
We're going right back.
So do y'all both cook dinner, or Brittany being considerate? Do you make a plant-based meal? Like, what does dinner look like for y'all?
I'm just like,
Oh,
what
that
about
changed.
the,
That's what things we brought.
That
Or
asked
do
me-
you
changed
cook?
That's
do you-
changed. So
do
that's
you cook her dinners because she eats meat?
I never make
He don't
any
cook.
meals
Okay.
for anybody.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I normally Brittany is the cook.
Okay.
Yes, that is one thing that changed. So we were
Said I don't
married
cook for
what
nobody.
6 years before you? Yeah, 6 years,
Yeah.
and then Carlos decided to be plant based. So I mean,
How'd
it
you feel about
can't-
that, sis? Because now you're
Well-
doing double work.
So okay, the thing is when we do have meals together, so I don't cook as much as I used to. I used to cook a lot when we first got married,
Yeah.
but just I guess entrepreneurship life,
Yeah.
and I can't really blame it on that because it's
But
not like
you
I
said-
don't have time.
But then you said like the thing was like if I was
Sometimes Carlos would be like, I'm the type of cooker in the kitchen where I don't
let
really
the
need a
ancestors
recipe.
download
You know, I
the
can
recipe
just
to you.
Oh.
like
cook.
that kind of stuff.
yeah, I
Oh,
can
you
cook. I can
cook.
cook for real.
Okay,
yeah, I can
okay.
cook for
Ain't no
real.
recipe.
So Carlos is he
Mhm.
needs a recipe. He needs to follow the
Oh, he
recipe
gotta follow
kind of
it.
person. And so I would make something where I'd be like, do a little this, a little that, and then
Mhm.
sometimes he would be like, I don't. He's not really a picky eater though, but he would be like, did you use a recipe?
But in this
for
vegan
that?"
life, it takes sometimes it
And I'm
takes
like-
like
Oh,
very
you're saying you would do that when you made the vegan recipes.
Not
and he,
all the time, but sometimes.
and he
sometimes.
was
So-
like,
and I'm like, you know what?
okay.
I'm done.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
But
and so yeah,
When
yeah.
we do cook and eat together, we have the same vegetables. So
Mhm.
I don't put meat in the greens or in
Mhm.
the
yeah.
beans or whatever. I don't put butter or milk, any type
Mm-hmm.
of dairy in the mashed potatoes or whatever we're cooking. We use plant based. options. And so the protein is different. So I'll have meat as my protein. He'll have some type of beans or some other type of
Legume.
protein. And
Yeah.
so that's how
Gotcha.
it works. So I'm not necessarily cooking double time because
Yeah.
we still have like the sides are all good.
Yeah.
It's just the protein that's different.
And we went through phases where we would like do Taco Tuesday and like we do taco
Mhm.
salad. And the only thing that's different is that she has ground beef and I have soy based protein or something like that. And I can dibble and dabble in the kitchen. It's just not my strong suit. So I tend to just kind of do things that I know don't require a lot of prep. So I get like ready made stuff from Costco.
Gotcha.
Like quinoa salad. That's like my go to thing. And I'll dress that up with other little toppings. And I gotta have my trail mix and my mixed, cashews and all that. So I'm self-sufficient. I'm not like necessarily demanding that Brittany
He's very
cooks.
resourceful.
Very resourceful, yeah. I don't necessarily need her to
I
cook
like
for me.
that. Very resourceful.
Yeah, she don't have to cook for me every day, but I also like the fact that we compromise in the area. Like when we go out to eat, we found ways that we both can go to
We go
restaurants.
to places that cater to us.
So like Asian food,
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
locked in.
yeah.
locked
they
in,
got it.
Mediterranean, locked in.
Yeah.
It's when you start going to like more Americanized places
Yeah.
where they don't really have any consideration for that unless you go to a vegan specific type joint.
All they got is a Caesar. salad.
Right. And the
What am I
lettuce
gonna
be
do with
And
looking
that's full of
white.
dairy.
Yeah, what you gonna do with that?
Right, exactly.
That's true. And thankfully that there's more.
Oh yeah.
I don't know the word I'm looking for, but
Options.
yeah,
alternatives,
that's more on the rise.
Especially in Dallas Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dallas Fort Worth. Because I don't think I would have been able to make that transition if I was living in Mississippi.
Right.
Oh, that'd have
At
been
that
hard.
time, yeah.
That's some really down south, down home cooking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe y'all come back. We'll come back for another part 2 or something. I guess
Okay.
we can get to talk about our origin story.
Your what?
Origin story.
Like how we got together.
We'll come back to that another time.
Wait.
I mean, aside from like the prayer meeting.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all good. What was said?
I said what I said.
Yeah, you say what they said.
We'll have to do part 2.
Yeah, we did part 2.
You good, babe?
Are you?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, you hungry too?
I am very hungry. Very hungry.
Bet they hungry too. We got this Panera over here. Finna dig into that. Yes, Lord. I'm glad they had a vegan option for Carlos, a vegetarian option. So, man, it was great having y'all.
It was.
Thank
It
Thank y'all.
was,
Thank y'all
man,
for
it
being
was.
transparent and open and not just accepting the invitation, but really sharing your life with us today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank y'all.
and being scientific and stuff.
And smart.
Hey, y'all, I got smart friends.
We got smart friends,
I got
y'all.
smart friends. So, but man, again, y'all can I would definitely advise y'all reach out to these very powerful, prolific, profound people that we're blessed to call family.
Yeah.
So if you need your house put together or your office, whatever it is, just call my girl Brittany so she can get you done right. And if your mind, you having some issues there, you fighting some things, call my man Karlos. He'll get you right. So, you good, baby? We got anything else?
That's all.
All right, y'all make sure y'all check out the sponsors. Icy Brand, Light with Purpose. Discount codes are down there in the description. And until next time, we'll see y'all next episode. Peace. Thank y'all so much for tapping in with the Left Hand Gang podcast.
Be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and rate us.
And lastly, please don't forget to check out our website. That's lefthandgang.co for merch and ways to stay connected.
Catch you next episode.
Gang.